At StoryCorps, a huge part of what we do is edit segments from our full-length interviews. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how we think about those stories and what we do when we edit them. A story has characters and conflict and a clear beginning, middle, and end. The end is often some kind of reflection on what happened to the storyteller. And it should also be compelling and have some kind of surprise in it. Characters should be well-rounded and go through some kind of transformation or change as the story progresses. We look for stories that have some kind of twist or turn. We don't want them to be predictable. Is there a build-up to the ending? Does something surprise me? Is the story able to take the listener on a journey? At StoryCorps, we focus on various genres that include things like remembrances and tributes, and our themes are along the lines of friendship, love, loss, and many others. We use these themes to create collections of stories that are representative of a large variety of experiences in the community. We want to make sure that we're telling many stories with many voices. When editing stories, we use several structure types. One is dialogue-driven, where it's very conversational. Another is a monologue, where it's only one person talking. We also like to use something called two voices, one story, where two people are telling the same story. It happens a lot with love stories, where people are talking about maybe the first time they met. Another kind that we find really engaging is a Q&A, a question and answer, where the questions themselves are so interesting that we want to include lots of them. Many StoryCorps stories only have one or two questions in them, but with a Q&A, there can often be many, many more than that. Editors ask themselves several questions. The first of which is, what's this story about? If you can't summarize the story in one or two sentences, then it probably still needs work so you can figure out what the main point is. After that, other questions editors ask themselves are, who are the characters? Are there too many of them? Are they dynamic? And does this story intrigue me or surprise me? And then you should think about the listeners. Who is your audience? Why should they listen to this? What's the takeaway? When it comes to editorial style, we don't use a narrator. So that means once the story starts, we don't come back in with an authorial voice. It's really important to us that we maintain the intention and integrity of our storytellers' voices. So we can't use the full 40 minutes, but we do boil it down to the very best few minutes from that interview.